right. All right. Hello. I'm Mary Beth Martirena. This is Sandy McCarran. We both co-host Office Hours monthly. And we are super excited today to welcome Aashish Mehta, CEO of nRoad, serial entrepreneur, expert in financial services and automation. And he's doing great things with his company and working with folks in financial services for AI transformation. Also, I just really want to thank Aashish for doing this after just landing in Berlin and doing this from his hotel room. So thank you very much, Aashish, for that. The other thing, just to remind people, this is a live show, and we do have Christine fielding questions in the chat, and she will be sending them to us. At any point during the show, feel free to send a question and we'll answer it, so it's a little bit interactive for you. And quick reminder, we also will be sending the replay out in an email as a wrap up with the audio and the video. So I'm going to hand it over to Sandy now.
Hey, Aashish, thank you so much for joining us today, especially between all the weather in New York and Berlin. I think just to set the context, I think we wanted to ask where do you see AI taking us in the future in the next year or two?
Yeah, first,
got it. First of all,
Aashish, also please go through your background as well. Thank you.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And you are very kind, Maribeth, in terms of actually the introduction. I don't think I deserve entirety of it, but I'll take it. Thank you. And again, the logistics wise, it worked out. So, no complaints. We're here and we're live.
Thank you.
So, which is great. A bit of a hit or miss, but we made it. In terms of my quick background, and before I actually dive into the Sandy, your question right out of the bat, right? So I have a good fortune to actually have been part of founding a couple of companies. They both happen to be the cross section of finance and technologies. So which has become fintech, which is that's a recent phenomenon. But our first company started back in 05, 06 when we were industry first in terms of automating Edgar filings. I'm sure people on the call, you actually might have used, and things, and people were typing as fast as the dual screen was like the state of the art in the industry at that particular point when we started, and corporate fundamentals, and we disrupted that entire space. The whole typing problem, we kind of took care of it by automating the extraction of data. And the first version we created was based on Java. Why am I telling you? There's a lot of connotation in terms of what's happening in present world. The second company, we actually were so disruptive, we got acquired within 18 months of existence. We were fortunate by a private equity firm, and they rolled us up into a fifth largest producer of fundamental content back then. We started another company called Rage Frameworks. Again, Rage idea was to use process automation engine to automate, create business processes, that are live. So as the business requirements change, you can go in the process and make the change, and voila, everything should be actually working the way it should be. And we focused on, again, financial services because that's the space we understood. We worked with fairly, Fortune 500 companies, helped them actually automate some of the niche problems that existed in their operations or in their entire product offering itself, and that's how we created that. That company got acquired by Genpact in 2007. And then obviously we got into nRoad. So nRoad, we use proprietary AI algorithms that helps us process unstructured content at scale for enterprises and for financial services. Again, the domain was very critical, focus was very critical in order to solve these mammoth problems that exist. So that's my background. And before I dive into the other areas of the AI space, I just wanted to actually take a pause and see, Sandy, if you wanted to actually add anything on top of what I
I,
just said.
I think it's just fascinating, all the companies that you mentioned. I feel like I heard the name when we were working at Moody's, right? So, and Mary Beth and I had worked on a similar product idea. So, and I think we were actually directed to go talk to Aashish at the time. So thank you for the background. I think for me, I always want to see what patterns and, what are the emerging themes that you're seeing in this fintech and financial services space among your enterprise or even mid-market clients?
Right. So again, AI, as we know, especially enterprise side, lots of POCs that have happened since ChatGPT came into our lives. The boardrooms got excited about AI. But face it, we've been using AI for a long time. We never called it. There was machine learning. We use machine learning algorithms. We actually created neural nets. But then ChatGPT took over our lives, and we basically started calling it, the current form of AI. So current form of AI is really LLMs. That is the new innovation that has happened in last, what I would say, about since ChatGPT came into like 2 years back. I think that's when the LLM explosion has started to happen, and you see there's an arms race going on in terms of whose model is actually better. But from the enterprise perspective, what we see, they're trying to utilize these LLMs or these models that are out there to solve the business problem versus actually starting with the business problem and then really using the technologies that are relevant. Data has been a huge challenge. All this, especially the big companies, they have grew through acquisitions. Let's face it. So disparate systems, there's a disparate processes, and there is no single data owner, and that has kind of hampered the progression, how the AI, getting the true power of AI just yet. But we see a lot of interesting trends and a lot of actually positive, uh, I would say, developments in getting the ROI from some of these actually projects or the POCs that they have started. I'm talking about, again, my focus is enterprises. I'm not talking about personal use AI in this conversation at all. But now we start to see, after the initial, initially, like, everybody got excited. Everybody went with, almost felt like the people were just literally, killing bazooka with an ant, using this model to solve a simple problem that could have been solved by a simple query. But they're like, no, use AI. But I think that initial enthusiasm has kind of coming down. People are realizing there is a cost associated with it. Somebody has to pay for running these LLMs. Um,
Right.
it's not cheap. It's not free, and it's all catching up. But we see a lot of positive trends now. Still, the data remains a big challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, not to mention the AI slop we hear about. And sometimes you can just tell it's AI, and people don't necessarily want that. Like Mary Beth, if you want to jump
Yeah,
in.
I think you have a really good point there, though, Ashish, of the data. Right now, this is just the next generation with the LLMs, but a lot of people don't understand, or there's an education needed that you just can't just throw the LLM out at it. There's some things that need to be done to
Right,
for it, right? So I think we find sometimes people are like, well, we don't understand why I can't just read this Excel file or just can't do this automatically. And there's that data preparation and those things that you are doing so well at nRoad, especially where you're extracting information and keeping the context, which is so important for the LLMs. And I think there's education, and people need to understand you need to do that. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Right, and I think you're absolutely right. The data issues, or the okay, let's step back a little bit, right? LLM. You want to throw LLM at a problem, no problem, But LLMs, first of all, you have to be very careful about what in use case selection for LLM.
Mhm.
LLM At the best, they are probabilistic. They are um, they hallucinate as a result of being probabilistic. Okay, of course, and that's where I think there is a remedy to it. There is absolutely remedy to it. How do you actually get data? Use internal data, train these models. You got to reiterate those models. There is no easy solution for that, and actually put all the guardrails around that so that you can actually catch where there is hallucination. See, we work with highly regulated industries. All our customers are highly regulated. They can't be probabilistic. They can't be saying we think it's 90% chance this is $1 billion number. Can't do that. It needs to be billion, or it's a 0-1 game at that particular stage. So for us actually putting those guardrails, so for us, like, LLM is not going to solve that particular problem for us because the nature of how it actually solves the problem. So we have to deploy other techniques, and other techniques are available. So use case selection review is super critical. And then the data prep that comes with it is actually also equally important, the intended ROI from the initiative.
I like that because you're going back to the problem and the use case and then the technology and not the technology leading the way, which is been a little backwards we've had. But it looks like we've had a question sent in, and if you just don't mind, let's try to answer that question. There seems to be many ghosts and hallucinations by startups and people who don't have the view on the larger industry. What do you suggest a company that is interested in data ingestion normalization technology should ask to filter out high performing tech over others?
It's a great question, by the way. It's a really good question. I think my suggestion would be to actually see if the company that you are actually talking to, or who the utility that you are actually evaluating, see whether they have verticalized that particular capability. If somebody claims that they have solved, let's call it credit agreement processing. Um, Credit agreement processing is not a one-off thing. You need to go deeper in that particular domain into really understand the context behind everything that comes into that agreement. So it will be for you, in order to actually get in order for you to actually be sure there is going to be a optimal hallucination, or minimize your error rates, is to actually go deeper into the problem statement with these firms and see whether they have done it. And if they have not, then either you need to be prepared to actually help them get through that particular process of thing, or find somebody who has actually solved that problem.
The subject matter expert.
Yeah, what would you say is some of the biggest mistakes we're seeing with organizations as they're starting their AI initiatives? And we've heard a lot about POCs, but who's really getting it out into production, and where are they being successful, or where are their pitfalls, where are they failing?
Right. What we have actually been observing, and what I have personally seen, is that the as I said, I mentioned use case selection is actually the most important thing, and I think people have faltered through that entire process multiple times, just to get the right use case. But now, above all, now there's a privacy. Let's say you have the right use case. Let's say LLMs are the right solution for that. And I would question that. But anyways, let's say you have a partnership with Gemini, or one of these LLMs that are there, and you actually, okay, you're about to solve this particular problem using that LLM technology. Now the other issues are going to be about how do you ensure data privacy? How do you ensure your data is not going to, this is not a federated model. This is basically a model that is quantized, which that means it actually sits within your organization's four walls. You're not actually sending your sensitive data up outside of that, you are keeping the learnings, you're mixing the data. See, the big language, large language models, they have been trained on publicly available information. What if you recall what really happened? The entire web was actually scoured and learning. That's exactly what happened. So these models were based on public level. So there is a certain bias that comes with what majority 60-70% of people are thinking about certain things, right? So there is a bias comes in. Your organization may be actually bucking the trend and maybe thinking completely different. You need to bring that in. You need to bring that in, in order to get the value for it. So, and then you need to also ensure that your knowledge is not going out. Otherwise, you are actually going to be giving up on your competitiveness. So there are many things I think one needs to be concerned as you start in that particular process.
I think that's a really good point about the data privacy and like having it, within your four walls. I mean, in regulated industries, you need to make sure that everything is secure. And then especially with, financial services and what they're doing, there's the privacy and responsibilities to their clients. Plus, there's a lot of things they do that's special to what that firm or company does that you want to apply that knowledge to there, and you don't want to have that leak out, right? Leakage. So what I was wondering also is like, what use cases are you seeing that your team is helping to solve? Like, what are people looking to solve? What use cases or patterns are you seeing there?
Right. So I think the answer to that question is, let's see where AI has really delivered the true ROI, right? Um, again, this is my personal opinion about this, and the other people are actually going at it very, so advisory type of level of using AI to provide advisory. I'm not there yet personally. Okay, and this is my own little the way I think about this. AI today. So AI today is nothing but another frontier in automation. If you look at it, we've been actually on a quest of automate ourselves since forever. Okay, this is Stone Age, right? We created the wheel, we created this. We are on a continuous journey of automating and improving our productivity. So if you look at the wheels to bullet cars to motorized vehicle, all that stuff that has actually happened, it has just increased our productivity. AI, there's no difference. AI is really another, but has a massive potential frontier to actually advance the whole automation. So if we use AI for automating our stuff, I think there is a tremendous value. And those are plain inside these use cases. Where I think is going to be, will require lots and lots of training and human assistance, continue to require that. Even the advisory services, like pick a stock or assign a credit rating. Yes, it can suggest, but I think it needs to be overlooked by a human analyst to ensure that is actually there. That is me talking. There are some people in the industry, they are out there saying that, oh, we can automate the entire human, but I'm not there yet. And that's where, like, see, the humans can do end to end, but AI is just iterating in between those lines. We can go from one place to another place without really needing anything. And another thing AI doesn't have that humans have is really empathy. And the empathy comes into the decision making. Some of these decisions are key. So, anyways, I think I kind of went a
I,
little bit
I
philosophical on this, right?
I agree with, and I think I could speak for Sandy. She would agree with you as well that it needs the human in the center, right? It's not just click a button. I mean, and then if you just look at some of the things in, I remember even, let's say doing a structured finance waterfall model, right? There is a lot of things and intricacies that go on there, and it's not going to know that, right? So you're going to need that human in the middle there. My hypothesis has always been that, the more liquid markets and equities, we've been able to do a lot of stuff, electronify it, use technologies, but the esoteric or areas that we haven't as much, but now with this technology we can, like in private markets, private credit, private equity, different areas. So I was just wondering, like, are you seeing a trend in different types of firms that are now embracing these tools or looking to do things in those workflows there now that couldn't before?
100%. So this is where I think, as I said, if you just stay on the automation journey, back office, middle office, I think is a fair game. You as a new fund, let's say if you're a new fund or a new company that is actually, let's say, doing a private credit strategy, or you're doing some sort of a private investment strategies. I think if you look at all these two verticals, they were like, the issue was the cost of processing, cost of basically operations. With AI, that actually is largely solved. So you have an ability today to actually read credit agreements. You have an ability to read financial statements, create the extracts, put side by side, and then have the human analyst come in and basically make a decision. Now, what one person could actually do, let's say for a day, the same person can be just looking at 8 deals. And one of the things we have actually seen is that the complexity that is involved in processing private or evaluating the private investment, it's so expensive and so time consuming that it's just not scalable. But AI provides that scale. Think about it. If you can actually do 8, 9, 10 deals, quick review, and A or nay, quick pass or quick move forward, it's a heck of a lot better than just looking one deal and just basically saying and getting disappointed, saying that, oh my God, I can't invest in that.
100%. And because also with the private market data, private company data, it's hard to collect, right? It's not as readily available. Even if you're sent the information from the company, it's probably in all different formats, and to go through that information. Then there's the footnotes as well. Right. So you're able to actually help that whole process.
Correct. So we have been very successful in that area. Our ability, we thrive when there is a bunch of variability. I keep telling people, like, if somebody comes to me saying that, oh, can you actually extract data from these invoices? I said, you're wasting my time, or wasting your time as well. There's a cheaper solution out there. But if you are asking me, if you are actually looking to automate context analysis and extracting variables from highly unstructured documents, I'm your person. I can do that. And that, because that's where it actually becomes AI. That's where the true value of AI really comes in. And so that's a phenomenal use case, by the way.
And can you just double click a little bit for the audience about what context analysis is and what it means for folks? It's giving them that context around it.
Okay, I'll give an example. Let's say, so any number the context is very important. Let's say, okay, let's take a word rose. Rose has many meanings. Okay, rose could be a name, could be a flower, but if you put some other context, and English is a very funny language when it comes to that. Stock market rose. That has a very different context behind it. So you can go through all this stuff, right? So this is where I make a case that the domain is very critical. If you apply a model for a specific domain, which is financial services, that meaning of rose is very well understood. If you put it very generalized manner, that's where the hallucination starts to happen. And it's very, and you can understand, this is a simple example I just gave, right? So this is where the context becomes very critical. If you don't have the context, the number of the meaning of that particular number can be very different.
Yeah, that's a really good illustration to the point. And I just wanted to click on that because I think a lot of times people don't understand that the LLMs need that context and that to get the right answer. And it's integral for that there. Looks like we got another question. So let's,
Sure.
do you find a difference between how to treat a legacy information versus starting to build a new database from scratch? Any special challenges or considerations? Another good question.
Great question. Yes.
It's a really good question, and I would actually I highly recommend that look at the look at the usage of that information that you about. You're storing this information for a reason. Look at the usage, make sure the usage well understand the use case, and the structure is actually supporting that. Um, I'm not fairly involved in the database storage and the cost associated aspect of it. But we can take that offline. We can actually try to see if our architects can answer that question better. But it's a really good question.
Okay. We can even send that out in our wrap up for folks.
Just so,
Yeah.
Ashish, just looking into 2026, where do you see the most meaningful opportunities for your clients and for financial industry?
Excuse me.
Yeah, what's going to matter for fintech operators, maybe investment firms or middle office teams? What are your recommendations there?
Excuse me. I think. Am I audible?
Yes, you
Yes.
are. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
I think that this data problem is going to continue to dodge for a little while. Once we get a handle over that particular information, I see that 2026 is all about getting the data right and getting to some of these use cases that they have already started POCs or select few cases, and you'll start to see some massive benefits. Recently there was a study out there from I think who did that? I think I've referenced that to you folks as well. I think the study says that 14% of the workflows or the analyst work has been already automated. Something I don't know who did that, so it's not really that's a profound. That's actually really interesting what is going on.
Yeah.
So that means there is after all that initial massive investments, I think there's something is coming out, and I think the acceleration you'll start to see next year.
Yes.
The hallucination problem, I think everybody says there's an AI bubble, there's that. I'll tell you, I don't think personally I feel it's a LLM bubble. There's a lot of LLM stuff that is actually happening. But AI has real value. If we actually stick to the core technologies, which is the neural net and the machine learning, there's a lot of value there. And the LLMs will actually evolve. This version of LLMs may not be the best ones, but I think it's going to happen. I think there will be pivot, and there will actually there will be another version that will be much more powerful than what we have right now.
I always say to people, the LLM model you're using now today is probably the worst LLM model you'll use ever, right? They're just going to improve. Just like the other machine learning and techniques, the traditional AI, as I'll call it. So what is interesting you've said, and we've always dialed in on it, is about the data prep and the data management, but people want to move out of, but they, even though we've automated 47%, now these people can do other things or higher value activities is some of our thinking or what we've seen people do. Does that align with what you've seen or your experience?
100%. I haven't seen. So we have. Okay. So let's at nRoad, since we started, we have actually automated at a minimum 60% of, or we have increased 60, at least at a minimum 60% productivity to the operations that we have actually gotten involved with. And that involves that actually, creation of data from unstructured documents, doing KYC related actually, unstructured content, all kinds of stuff, private credit, private assets. We have minimum 60%. So if there are 10 people down, they just need 6 people to do what they're supposed to, or 4 people what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
What has happened is the remaining 6 people have not been actually gone anywhere. In fact, in each and every case, we have seen they've increased the throughput. Now, instead of looking at the 10 deals, now they can look at 80 deals. In some cases, they were able to do only 10,000 financial statements per year. Now they can do 25,000 financial statements per year. And they can get more for it. So I think the value creation from automating this mundane, or the tasks that nobody wanted to do, it has actually helped, not it has not hurt the headcount, or it has not affected people. In fact, it has pushed people to do, or the human analysts to do more value added work, which I'll argue that that is a good thing that is coming out of this.
Yeah, I think I read in your deck, it was something like a 4-month process was collapsed into like 4 days, something like that. So you really are 10x and beyond. So I think it's fascinating.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think people, they hear about this automation and those statistics, and their first thought is like, oh no, it's all going away. But actually, no, there's more people, there's more investment, there's more opportunity. And then you can actually differentiate yourself better in going after those deals, having a strategy for your client, all those things, rather than doing this manual work, sitting in a spreadsheet.
I think we're seeing, Mary Beth, is also people are now looking at their historical, right? So that they can, and I'm always looking for my quant friends, right? So they could really do some leading and lagging analytics on, a deal over time, over the last 40 years they've been a client, that type of thing as well. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'll give an example. And this is one of our customers. They're actually utilizing our technology, our solutions to automate KYC related documents, right? You get all kinds of documents. Nobody wants to do KYC, as you know. KYC, only regulators love it. Everybody else, like the people, you and I don't like it. Banks don't like it. Nobody likes it. But, it's a cost of doing business. So if somebody asks you to send you, if I'm a bank and I ask Sandy, Sandy, send me your refresh of KYC document, what will you do? You go to the scanner and you just scan all the documents in one gigantic PDF, and you just basically, hey, Aashish, here, take it, leave me alone type of thing, right? But now it becomes a massive cost on the bank side. Think about it, 100, 200,000 KYC requests per year, and everybody's sending one gigantic PDF. What do you do with it? Somebody has to open that up and see what Sandy has actually sent, whether she has sent all the documents, and if she has sent all the documents, is this accurate? Are these documents current? They're not expired. All kinds of stuff, right? It's a really big painful process. So again, that's what we automated. We can chop the documents, we can classify it automatically, all kinds of stuff we do. So with the team of 25, our customer, our actually client, was actually doing this process, and they were able to do maybe 500 KYCs, and they were not able to do all KYCs. They have been, like the regulators were on them in terms of doing more and more. And it was just not possible, just adding the headcount, because it's just not supported by the business case. So with the automation, now they've been able to increase their compliance to the KYC regulators. So there are some interesting benefits that are coming out, not just productivity and eliminating people. That's not what it is all about. This is about how do you increase the throughput, time to market, as Sandy you said, And that actually benefits quite a bit.
Right. Not to mention the ease with which people can create and start new companies, businesses, websites, products, everything else. It's going to be a compounding issue, right? So it's really
Right.
fascinating.
When you think about it too, that cost to go through that regulatory, what I love is this is a regulatory and compliance issue. So whether you're a small company or a large company, you still have that tax to do this. So now you're helping whether you're small, medium, enterprise, whatever size, right? We know you deal with enterprise, but you could be, not a Fortune 500, but something a bit smaller, and you're going to go through this, and you're going to need that, right? So I think that's the beauty of all this. The one thing, that we've seen too come on this year, and also we've explained to people is, I want AI agents, right? But to have an agent, right? Again, we're back to LLMs, and to have that agent do the right thing, right? You have to have the right, data. And I would imagine, are you seeing clients, who want to do LLMs? They're going to need data extracted, managed, from using an nRoad or something, and then having it go into those agents.
Right. So I think the first step is really getting the data. I think that is the most important. So nRoad is actually, I would say, or the utility lies nRoad, which are basically taking the information from your unstructured content. Structured content is already there. As long as you can figure out the data lake issues and the ownership issues, I think that's and as long as the data is high quality, you're good. So you got the unstructured content, which is really the big portion of it. 80% of what is actually, it's really unstructured. But if you strip out all these emails and because that gets 80% really has, the emails is a big culprit, and the chats and if you take out all that, there's a lot of information there as well. The tonality, how people are speaking to, how customer service agents are speaking to clients and the customers, and what's happening, what could be the brand, what could affect the brand quality. There's a lot of information there. But if you strip out all that, just the documents and the memo, like all the stuff that exists, that is still a major. There's a lot of information there that is not being utilized in the current decision making process. So once you bring all that in, then there's a role of agent. I am, again, I'm not agent take. There's a lot of talk about it. See, agent take is actually autonomous agents. What task am I comfortable? And every organization has to decide their own path here. But what task I am comfortable actually having an autonomous agent execute it. Now, there is a reinforced learning, all kinds of stuff, but so I would argue small tasks, and then come up with a bigger, like series of small tasks, chain it together. You probably will get a better results than, because that'll allow you to actually have the checks and balances after every process, after every task has been done, versus like, I'm going to basically deploy an agent to answer your question, and that requires X, Y, and Z. That's just, in my view, we're not there yet. Some folks actually claim that they are. I'm sure there is actually some stuff that already exists, but I will be more, given my preoccupation is with highly regulated companies. I would argue that small chunks would be actually better.
Yeah, I think we would agree with that as well, like what we've seen, and like having those agents built for the task specifically, and chunking that down for troubleshooting and for auditability and traceability. I think that, also you want to start small, like you're saying, get your feet wet, but the most critical thing that has to be that 100% right. You're not going to put it, with the autonomous agent yet. Yeah.
Right. So just curious. So what kind of how do you evaluate which AI you like to use? Like outside of nRoad, everyone knows ChatGPT. What are your tools that you like to deploy?
I'm I'm like at this particular stage, I use all. But first, I'm actually getting to the point where I'm actually trying to utilize it for certain tasks. Again, I'm talking as a consumer AI perspective. I'm actually talking as not enterprise AI, but consumer AI perspective. I use Gemini is a phenomenal model. The latest one is really good. Used for text generation. I use Grok for just information or some research of information. It seemed to have some right information there. Um, cloud, the Perplexity cloud. There's some very interesting video generation and the image generation models. Like the Google's one is the Nano Banana is just phenomenal. So I use all. And that's where I see it's gonna go. I think people are going to figure out which works for them the best, and they'll start utilizing all that.
So which model's appropriate for the task is kind of gathering.
Yeah, yes, perhaps. That's what.
Yeah. Now, I just want to check and see if, Christine, if we have any more questions from the audience.
We could talk a little bit while we're looking. So what do you think about AI will actually change the financial services sector?
I think the financial services sector, as we discussed, I think clearly the middle office, back office is going to completely change. This The automation is here. I think all these POCs that have happened, that is going to accelerate some of that. I think where we will see a biggest, we're seeing some interesting use cases as well in terms of monitoring some of the, tweeters and tweets and
Doing like sentiment analysis for Twitter. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, just to make or identify any kind of a potential brand risk and this and that. So and people are actively using some of those techniques. So where I think it's going to go next, in my view at least, I think where it's going to go, I think start creeping into the front office. So far, the middle office, back office, which has been the majority of the I think, but I think that's where it's going to go. Maybe smaller chunks here and there, but we have a lot to work. We have a lot of work to be done, anyways, in the middle office and back office. We still have lots and lots of processes to be automated. So I think we will be busy for a little while. I think
I agree with that. Lots of training to do as well.
Marybeth Quinn is just typing. I think Sandy also brings up a good training point. I think there's a lot of like AI literacy and education. Do you have to like kind of go through that with your clients, Aashish, as you interact or get to know them?
yeah, definitely. It is pretty real actually when you start to talk to the clients like that.
Yeah, there's an emotional response for sure to AI. They're coming to get you, or it's the greatest creative tool you've ever experienced in your life. So it's really interesting stuff.
Right. I think that thing, obviously, I think everybody's nervous about this, but I think once you get through this process, you'll see that this is no different than SQL that came in or BPM tools that came in. It's just has a lot of potential, but it is going to automate.
It's just like the internet. I mean, this is the exact same thing. How am I going to buy shoes? I didn't try them on. There's like all of those issues that came out when, how are you going to do this online? How do I trust this website? That type of thing. Yeah. We're having all the same issues. Yeah.
I think one of the things like we find, which is with the executives trying to understand what use cases could it be used for, what's it appropriate for, like educating them on that. I mean, I know that when we've talked to some CIOs and CTOs, my executive team wants to use AI and I can't get the use cases from them or the business objective or really what does it mean. That we've run into that with some clients. I don't know about yourself, but we've seen that like a pattern with folks. There looks like there's another question. Go ahead first. Then we'll go to the question.
Also there's one more thing. I think the cost of AI is now come to realization. The in my view, unit cost of understanding unit costs, analysis of unit cost is very important. Let's say if you are on a quest to automate one task, let's say, and the task that costs you, if you do it if you do it completely manually, it costs you, let's say, arguably $100. If AI costs you doing the automating the same, let's say that task can be automated using AI, right? And the use case selection, as I said earlier, it's perfect. It actually does the trick. Great. But if that cost of automating that task and running AI to do that is going to be again $100, then what is it worth? Or even $120? It's not worth it. So I think this is where it becomes very interesting. Like you got to, and I think folks are getting there. Folks are understanding unit cost is very important. Just because AI can solve the problem, you know, do we really want AI to solve that problem? We have enough tools out
I
there,
think,
and that can actually be cheaper, better,
yeah,
faster.
Richard had this exact use case for us in one of our discussions the other day, that they actually ran the numbers and it was cheaper to have employees who do the work than use AI. So I think it's interesting. Do you have to use it just because you can, because everybody else is, because it's a good buzzword? I think people need to put some practicality into their decision making. Go ahead.
What I like is that you just talked about the unit cost, and I think a lot of people don't understand the cost structure of AI, right? Like unlike a SaaS product, right? You pay per seat, but here, as you use it more, you're going to have more costs as you use it, right? Increasing like the usage and all that. So there's an education with that probably as well with folks, and it sounds like they're starting to understand that. But breaking down to the unit cost, you have to get very granular.
Right, right. And I think that has to be done. That cost accounting has to be done in order to really, really understand the impact.
Yeah.
Cost accounting. I did not like that in college. I will let you know that. So here's our next question. Have you ever thought that a data problem was too big or the client was approaching their solution from a position of chaos?
Data problems are big. And honest, that is, there's a simple truth to it. I think what complicates it is not okay. Let me take it back. It's not a huge problem. I think the structure and the governance of data, given that there is no single data owners in most cases, that complicates the situation. So marketing is collecting the same information as sales, and then account rather or the order processing has the same information. They don't talk to each other. Now there is a duplication. Somebody who customer service is talking to the client has the right information, updated information, but that is not reflected. Now there's a whole normalization needs to happen. That's where those are the issues I think makes it very difficult. Let's say we had this use case where we were basically looking at a firm and looking at a company, a small business, and just seeing what kind of reviews people are leaving on Yelp or whatever, right? Not Yelp, just Google reviews, whatever it is, right? Just understanding that. But if you don't have the right demographic information of the client of the business, how do you know whether it's a Sandy or whether it's Mary Beth? Because you need name, address. Look, there are so many Sandys and so many Mary Beths out there. Then there is a last name, then there's an address. There's other identifiers will actually make who you are, identify who that you are, and that's the data problem I'm talking about. And then it just at a basic level, and now you're talking, add on top of it, like it just escalates. Bad quality data. We have a 50 years of history. Okay, You can't use AI on that because it's so, or to train our models because it's not accurate. And that's where it gets very complicated very fast.
Agreed. Absolutely. I think we always say to people, getting a data catalog, who's the data owner, putting the definitions together right there will help you get clarity. And, not until you do that will you kind of sort out, I guess, the chaos. So, yeah. So we usually go into now, and I'm going to let Sandy go for it. Some questions that we like your guests at
Yeah,
the
we
end.
do our end. Usually we ask, what are your favorite books, podcasts, blogs? Who are your thought leaders? Who are you following
Oh boy!
lately
Oh
to
boy! Oh boy!
stay on
Oh boy!
top of things?
Um, I've been enjoying podcasts a lot. I my favorite thing to do actually to go from Boston to New York. Sometimes I just get in the car and drive because I can actually listen to all my podcasts and just be done with it. So it's really interested in some of the deeper technology related conversations on podcasts. Acquired is another one that I really enjoy, just understanding the DNA of a company, how that company actually was formed, what
Good
happened,
one.
how it happened. Recently, I read something about Jamie Dimon, like way he has actually executed. Like he's, unbelievable what Jamie's done, and it's like admiration. Um, and just learning about them, and I like this long form of interviews like this. TV interviews which are like 30 seconds doesn't do the justice. I think this long form 2 hour conversation, you just like talking like the way we are talking right now, it's actually
Yeah.
versus getting a code. Been enjoying that quite a bit. So
I have to say, I agree with you on the long form because you really understand the person and their story and the content.
right.
And again, it puts it all into context, like we've been talking about. So I think that's fantastic. One question for you, Ashish, is just what is your best piece of advice for someone looking to lead an AI transformation going into the new year?
First of all, call Maribeth and Sandy. That's number one.
Thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind.
um, and on a serious note, but again, I still believe that. But I think you need someone to actually also take a look at. I think the few things we discussed, right? Just to summarize, use case selection is super critical. Please have the use case selection. Make sure you have the right data to support that use case selection. Unit cost is also very important. Fourth is, think about the data privacy and regulatory compliance related issues that you will actually face. If you can actually solve for all these 4 or 5 little buckets, and these are not huge problem. I'm making it as if it's like a number of steps, whatever. It's not. Like if you quickly go through it, I think you will be a better. You will win this. And the opportunity is just immense. Like, it just unbelievable opportunity exists.
Yeah. And so easy to make the documentation now, right? So write it down, get a plan together. All right.
I love it. So we just wanted to thank you, Ashish, for joining us, especially today, all the way from Berlin, after having just landed. I mean, this has been fantastic. Hopefully, you'll be able to get some sleep soon and get some rest after this is over. And then before we go, what we always like to tell people is about our, next office hours. Our next one, this is our last one for the year. So thank you, Ashish, again for coming on. And our next one will be in January, on January 20th, with a good friend of ours, a good friend of mine, Joy Shen, venture capitalist. She started the innovation lab originally at Refinitiv and then went into venture and has now started her own fund, the Expedition Fund. She is focused on, she's an expert in enterprise AI and how to apply enterprise AI to verticals such as financial services, healthcare, supply chain. So we want to hear all about what Joyce is doing and what her predictions are in 2026 with enterprise AI as we kick off the new year.
And ex IBM, correct?
Yes, yes.
But I got a plug for her IBM connection.
Yes. Ex-IBM Cloud and the youngest CFO at IBM of a division.
And the She's amazing.
She's quite a powerhouse, and we are honored to have her join us in the new year. Okay, and with that, thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Aashish.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Okay.